One of the intriguing aspects about shows like this is not just the public face of the stand. This is Metacomco, not on the face of it a frightfully interesting looking stand. But if you're among the privileged few, you might be invited into one of the hospitality suites. And if you're with us, you are among the privileged few. So let's go. And inside we meet someone you might reasonably expect to see at a show like this, the Nigel Dempster of the computer world, our own Guy Kewney, together with something you won't see on the Commodore stand, the Commodore Amiga, and Dr. Tim King from Metacomco. Guy, first of all, why can't I see this machine on the stand of its manufacturers, for heaven's sake?
Well, it's a bit too wonderful for Commodore. They're a little embarrassed by it. They only have a Commodore 128 to sell in the UK at the moment, and they can't get this until nearly April next year because we need a UK version.
So they're actually afraid of it competing with their own price?
I think they might well be, yes.
Right, what's the Metacomco connection with?
Well, when I got hold of this machine first, it didn't have an operating system. The people who were meant to do it blew it away. Tim King was brought in, I would say, as an emergency.
Well, Tim, as an emergency saver of the situation, you've come up with something which I gather is fairly impressive. How long did you have to develop the operating system?
Well, we've had about 6 months in total, but we brought out a first production development system in about a month.
That is motoring, isn't it? That's going somewhere.
With some late nights.
Without that, we wouldn't have the machine today.
Right, now you've seen it and you've actually used the machine in the United States, and I know you're impressed with it. Why are you so impressed with it?
Well, it's not just the razzmatazz. When I first saw it, it's admittedly Andy Warhol was using it to draw a picture of Debbie Harry from Blondie, but apart from that, it is quite special machine. It is more powerful than any machine I know. It does lots of things that other machines can't do, and it can do them all at once. Make it talk.
Let me tell you about multitasking.
Multitasking is the ability to do several things at once, but it can do several things at once on a level which other machines couldn't do just one of them. For example, that speech is built into it. It can type, you type things in, it will talk back to you what you said in a very convincing tone of voice, built into the machine. It's got a tremendously open thing. You can make it do quite sophisticated things with very simple programs.
We have here, for example, a very short program in our BASIC.
What have you got? It's like 7 lines, isn't it?
That's right. And it doesn't look very exciting, but it allows you to do this by moving the mouse, pressing the button, drawing little pictures.
That is amazing. That's really very clever. And that's only an introduction to its graphics and its multitasking ability, isn't it? You've got something even more impressive now.
Well, the graphics on this thing actually boil down to what you'd call animation. It can give you genuine animation, not just a couple of slow pictures, one after the other. This is set up now to work with a mouse and icons, like an Apple Macintosh,
right.
But it can also work with the old-fashioned command line interpreter. It can do both. And what I'm going to have done now is we're going to look through the disk here, and we're also going to run a graphics demonstration at the same time.
So this is simultaneously 2 different things?
Well, that's the plan, yes. So, first of all, we ask it to look on the disk and tell us what it finds, what files are there. And at the same time as it's doing that, using the mouse, we run this demo.
Now, I have to say, those are incredibly impressive graphics. That really is animation, isn't it? The shadow and the noise.
Shadow and the noise, and that whole demonstration is using something like 10 to 20% of the power of the processor. It still has most of its processing power free to run your database, counts, whatever you want to run. And the other thing is, you're listening to the sound. You should listen to the music. This thing is Fairlight compatible. Fairlight's a synthesizer, and this thing can cope with the same waveforms. We feed them in through a MIDI interface. Some of them are in already. We've got a flute and a guitar in already. And we're just going to play them, we're just going to synthesize, although this thing is capable of actually accompanying you, singing or playing a wind instrument.
Have you ever heard me sing?
Don't sing, just play, Tim. If you were a musician, you'd really be impressed.
Still, it was a good note to end on.
Thank you.
Everyone is talking about the Amiga, but very few people will actually get to see it here. One system that people ought to be talking about, and which everyone can see, is the new system from Amstrad, the Amstrad PCW 8256. What Amstrad have done is to acknowledge that a major reason for buying a personal computer is for word processing. And they have produced a word processor, and here's the shop, for a price they claim is less than that of an electric typewriter, £399. With me is Alan Sugar, chairman of Amstrad. Alan, one wonders whether you can actually make a profit at that price, but can you tell us exactly what you get for £399?
Well, what you get is basically what you see here, which is the keyboard, the monitor with the disk drive and the printer, and of course the software and the CPM operating system.
Now, is the 8256 just a word processor, or does it have other capabilities?
No, it's a CPM computer, and for example, we see it running a spreadsheet there, and this is a famous spreadsheet, SuperCalc 2, and obviously any of the other 8,000 CPM programs that are available throughout the world.
Now, coming back to the use as a word processor, you're selling the system with a dot matrix printer. Don't you feel that people who really want a word processor are going to require letter quality printing?
Well, we offer letter quality printing. This document here demonstrates clearly every single configuration of printing that the machine does. It's much more versatile than the Daisy-Built printer, in as much as you can have this miniature typing, bold typing, expanded, smaller typing, letter quality style, italics, and I think really, I'm sure everybody who's seen it so far must agree that one would need perhaps a magnifying glass to really differentiate between this and what people call Daisy-Wheel printing.
Okay, but if people insist on a Daisy-Wheel printer, can you attach one?
If they insist, then they would need to buy the serial interface, which is available for this machine, which plugs onto the back and allows them to then plug into another Daisy-Wheel printer if they want to.
And how much extra would that cost?
That's about £70, the serial interface.
Okay. When can we expect to see the 8256 on the market, and where?
They'll be in the stores at the end of September, early October.
Right. Now, leaving this system aside, you've also launched a new system, the 6128.
That's right.
Has that completely replaced the 664?
Yes, indeed.
So we will not be selling the 664 anymore?
No, that's right.
Now, are you going to offer any kind of trade-in for people who've purchased a 664? Because it's only been on the market for a few months, so they can upgrade to a 6128?
No, not really.
Don't you feel that with people who've given a loyalty to Amstrad, that they really deserve better than just having bought a system that is now no longer going to be supported?
Well, I don't know what you mean by not supported. Why is it not supported?
Well, there'll be no further development from Amstrad on that particular system.
It is a compatible machine to all the machines in our range. So all of the software which we are developing for all of our three home computers will operate on the 664. They've not been left out in the cold at all.
Okay, Alan, thank you very much. Once again, the choice is up to you, the consumer, as to which system you purchase. So far, we've seen the Commodore 128 and the Amstrad PCW8256, both of which have very similar specifications, capabilities, and both of which support CPM. The main difference? One system is almost half the price of the other.
It seems as if Amstrad have adopted the Atari slogan of power without the price, and that means more choice to all of us as consumers, and that can't be bad. Here on the Mirrorsoft stand, talking about games, news of a game called Fleet Street Editor, which will be out in December. The idea is that you can design, and if you've got a printer, print your own newspaper. If I tell you that Mirrorsoft is owned by Robert Maxwell, I ask this question: is he trying to tell us something? Now, on the subject of games, you may have been confused by all those charts of games that come out from time to time. This apparently is the definitive one. Just come out. It's published by Microscope in association with Gallup, the poll people. You can see from this that at the moment the top-selling game is Hypersports by Imagine, and there are little boxes down here for the games that are selling well for various different machines. Our Ben Knox is a serious games player, if that's not a contradiction in terms. Here's his report from the show.
Good news for modem owners. MUD, the multi-user adventure game which we featured in 4 Computer Ups earlier on this year, has undergone an extensive rewrite and is now marketed by Muse Limited through British Telecom. Like many adventure games, MUD is based in a fantasy land of dwarves and goblins. Unlike other games, there is a multi-user feature which enables players to interact with one another. This means that they can kill each other, ask each other for help, and perhaps form alliances. There are about 1,000 locations in the game where you may find treasure, meet other players, or just go for a quiet lie down. The object of the game is to collect as many points as possible and try and increase your level to wizard. Once a wizard, you can teleport yourself around the land with great ease, setting up traps and otherwise generally being a pain in the neck to other players. To get onto MUD, you need to purchase one of these, a £20 starter pack, which includes maps, instructions, and 3 free hours of connect time. Initially, local dial-up access will be only available to London users, though this will change later in the year when the system's linked to PSS. For the first 2 months of service, users will be able to play completely free, which is giving the authors a chance to test the system with a large number of users. After the beginning of November, Players will have to pay 20p for 6 minutes. If you want further information about MUD, you can contact the MUD line, which is on 01608 1173. Now elsewhere in the exhibition is Dr. Mike Thorne.